Hey, what is up guys? Welcome back to yet another Destiny 2 Forsaken video, and today I'll be showing you a guide for the very first encounter of the Last Wish raid. Now this encounter is called Tower of Opened Eyes, and for the most part it really isn't that difficult in terms of how many enemies are thrown your way and how powerful and hard hitting they are. The one thing I would definitely advise is make sure your communication and coordination is on point, because there are a few things you're going to have to call out here that's pretty important, and if you don't have a good team that knows how to call out and listen, it will be a little bit challenging. Now this is a 560 power level encounter, and the ogres that spawn if you die are about 580, so just keep that in mind. If you're about 530 or 520, this will be very challenging. And if you're wondering, my fire team was about 545, and that was the average across the board. These guides will be coming out on my channel very frequently. As soon as I'm done with these encounters and get a good understanding of what's going on, I'm going to be putting these up after every single one that I clear. So just keep an eye out on the channel. You guys can subscribe, feel free to, and I'll be posting daily Destiny 2 Forsaken content, and a like rating would very much be appreciated as it supports the channel. Without further ado, let's get right into it, as I'm first going to cover all the basics and general mechanics. Alright, so there is going to be one thing that you guys have to understand, and this is like the most general thing in this entire encounter, and that is what the callouts are for the snakes. Now there's going to be symbols all over the map, and there's these plates essentially that are floating in the air, these small little tablets, and they have a snake on them. Now there's 4 different callouts. The first looking snake is shaped like a U. The second one is shaped like a number 8. The third one is shaped like the infinity sign, and the fourth one is an S. So those are the callouts that we made for these specific tablets. If you guys, look at these tablets and can think of a better call out, then feel free to do that, but that's just generally what we called these tablets. Now there's going to be 9 of these tablets that are on top of 9 different plates that are surrounding the middle of the room. I'll get to what these plates do in just a second, but before I talk about that, there will be 6 different tablets in the middle of the room, closer to the very center of the blind well structure. So as soon as you start this encounter, what you need to do is buddy up with somebody. So go ahead and make 3 groups of 2 and go towards the center of this structure as soon as you start up this encounter. Now what you need to do with your buddy is stand under the 2 tablets. The tablets will also be grouped into 3 groups of 2. Now these tablets, it's important to note, will be randomized for you and your buddy every single time. But it's also important to note that these tablets will be the same for you and your buddy. So as an example, me and player 1 will get the S icon. That means both of us have that, and we're going to then go to the outside plates that are surrounding the entire structure, and we're going to find the corresponding symbol, which is of course the S symbol. So all you have to do is go to the middle. If you have S, which I do in this video right here you're seeing on screen, I am then going to look for S. If you have any other symbol, you're going to look for the corresponding one. Very simple stuff. So now let's talk about the plates. Every single person will be responsible for their own plate, and there's going to be 6 that you have to stand on out of 9 in total. Don't worry about the remaining 3, they are irrelevant at this point in time. So what you want to do is go ahead and stand on top of the plates, and there's going to be 3 different portions on each plate. They're going to be divided into thirds. Now 2/3 of the plate will be takenized. There will be taken on them, and what happens is you will die to the blight if you stand on it for too long. So what you want to do is stand on top of your third of the plate until you kind of, activate it or charge it, and once that's charged, you hop on the next section of the plate and then the next section. Once you do that for all 3 of the portions of the plate, a boss will spawn, and this mini boss will be a knight, and he's got a decent amount of health, so be prepared to use your EP shotgun and maybe even a super on him if you need to. Now in a perfect world, all 6 of the knights would be killed at the exact same time of when the boss is ready to take damage. But of course, we don't live in a perfect world, and that doesn't happen every single time. Sometimes there may be issues where people die and their knight kills them and they just need help. If that's the case, I would recommend the closest person to their plate help them out, while the rest of the people come to the middle and do damage on the boss. Now of course, I would recommend the typical things like melting point, weapons of light if you have a sentinel, and basically just anything that will, modify your damage and artificially increase it. Now, of course, there is going to be a message once the boss is ready to take damage, and that is Kalli conceives an ontological weapon. It's going to pop up in the left corner of your screen, the left bottom above your super bar, so make sure to keep an eye out for that, and when it says that, you have to be ready to do damage ASAP. Now, once you do damage, you're going to have about a 15-second window to do damage before she does a wipe mechanic. You'll get a signal, and it says Kalli prepares to wield her weapon. When that pops up in the bottom corner, that's basically giving you an indication that she's going to do her wipe mechanic pretty soon, and that you should be ready to hop into the safe rooms. Now, the safe rooms are located directly underneath the boss. She's going to move around the blind well every single time you do damage to her, and the safe rooms will be directly underneath her. It's a tiny little room, and the important thing is that only one person can go into one of these rooms. You can't have two in one, or else it'll wipe you both and you're gonna die, so make sure it's one per person. Now, this is really the trick of the entire encounter. This is where my team struggled the most and lost tons of lives, which forced us to wipe and restart this encounter over and over again. Make sure that you're extremely coordinated and you have very good communication, because if you don't, then you guys are going to be bumping each other. You're going to be picking different rooms, and sometimes one person's going to enter the same one as you, and that's going to result in a loss of lives. So make sure you're very communicative, and obviously, you know, you have great coordination. My trick that I did is that I actually stayed last. So I told everybody, hey, the doors are open, you guys go inside, and then I would pick the one that's very last, so that way it kind of eased the pressure for everybody else and put it on myself. If you have somebody in your fire team that wants to bear that responsibility, then feel free to do that. I found that to be super successful, and every single time we did that, for the most part, we really didn't screw up. There was one occasion where I actually did fail to get into the room when I waited too long, but the reason was because I jumped up to the second layer and I actually mantled and then had to drop back down, and by then I was dead from the wipe mechanic. So just do that, or another thing that you can do is actually split up 3 people on the left side and 3 people on the right side doors, and for the most part those are the ones that you're focusing on entering. But obviously sometimes there are 4 doors on one side and 4 on the other, so it does get a little bit confusing. What I would recommend is having 2 people or 1 person stay back like I mentioned. All 4 of them or all 5 of the other guardians will go into the doors that they pick, and then the last person or 2 people will bear the responsibility of getting into the last one, whichever that may be. Once you actually do damage to the boss, you're going to go inside of the safe room and you're going to repeat that same thing 3 times in a row. So damage, safe room. Boss will then teleport a little bit to the left, and then you'll do damage, safe room. She'll do it one more time, you do the damage, safe room, and then at the very end, after you go into the safe room for the 3rd time, you're going to have a little bit of time to do damage. It's probably going to be about 5 seconds, and then she'll teleport away, and then you're going to have to rinse and repeat this entire encounter. You're going to have to do it about 3 times, at least that's what it took me and my fire team, and what you really want to shoot for is to do 1/3 damage each one of those phases. Now, as you guys can see on the footage right now, we almost did half in one phase, which was absolutely incredible. Again, we were using melting points, we were using weapons of light with the new Sentinel super, and of course most of us were running whispers, and if we didn't have whispers, we were running the sleepers. It's very important to land your headshots, but again, it is difficult because she bombs a lot every single time she gets flinched. So just be patient with your shots and make sure you're landing them, because reloading definitely wastes a lot of time. In terms of loadout, like I mentioned, you want to be running a Whisper or the Sleeper Simulant in your heavy slot. I'm sure you could probably get this done with rockets, but you would probably need to be a much higher power level to do this. Overall, this raid is super difficult. It seems like power level makes a massive difference, and so if you don't have key components like the Sleeper and the Whisper, this part is probably going to be very difficult. Now, of course, like I mentioned earlier as well, you can run the EP shotgun and jump up to the first layer just on top of the safe room. That way you can melee the boss, jump back down there, and then shotgun, and for the most part I think you'll be safe there because you won't get hit by her AoE damage. But that is it for this specific guide. Like I said, once you rinse 3 times in a row, you'll just do the 3 damage phases, and then you'll go to the plates and do that 3 times in total, and then just keep doing damage until the boss goes down. The hardest part is definitely these safe rooms. You and your team have to get that down pat, but once you do, it should be more or less easy. thank you all so much for watching the video. I'm gonna leave it here with the boss kill, and you guys can enjoy that, and I'll be uploading the second portion of the raid, which is the second encounter, very soon once me and my fire team get that done. It's also worth mentioning that the Seed of Light does drop from this encounter, so you can get your third subclass finally leveled up, and that is via the raid. A lot of people thought that was going to be from a bounty, but it is not. And yeah, that's it for the video, guys. Thank you all so much for watching. A like rating would very much be appreciated as it supports the channel. Subscribe for more daily Destiny 2 Forsaken content. Have yourselves a great day, and I'll see you all later. Peace.